People around Elkhart dug their hideous sweaters out of the back of the closets, put them on, and went for a run today. Today, as part of Winterfest, more than 400 festive runners joined in for the Ugly Sweater Run. They were greeted by carolers with candy canes along the river route. Several people even dressed up their dogs for the big event. The money raised benefits the Elkhart Education Foundation.
We have 8 more libraries that are going to be renovated by us over the next year. We have learning gardens that are going to be going in the elementary schools. We have another $100,000 in teaching and extracurricular grants to give away.
It's a lot to look forward to. The runners finished back at Cardzali Park, where prizes were handed out for the best times and most hideous sweaters.
News Center 16's Joel Porter talked with city leaders about the problem. And Joel, a few days ago, the city cleaned up under that bridge downtown, but it looks like the homeless are back. What's the deal?
Well, Terry, when I asked one homeless person about that today, he says that simply they like the bridge. They feel safe under here and they don't want to give it up. But homeless advocates we talked with today, along with the mayor, say that it's not safe. The nights are only getting colder, and it's time for these people to go seek help. A sunny but frigid day as traffic passes under Main Street.
I think it was more of a bluff.
A few days after city workers did a clean sweep under the bridge, many of South Bend's homeless are back.
At least under here, I know I'm not going to freeze to death.
A few feet from the boxes and blankets, a winter amnesty form encourages people to come in from the cold.
Now that all 3 sites are open, people find a rhythm. They have their spot that they go to, and they tend to be there most of the winter.
Beds and blankets are available at the Center for the Homeless, the Life Treatment Center, and Project Warm on West Monroe. Mayor Buttigieg says the bridge is not a good place to be.
When you have encampments forming that bring people like that together, even though I know there's a sense for some of safety in numbers, the evidence is it's more dangerous.
He points to addiction and potential violence. This morning, the homeless got a little more help, courtesy of a state grant to buy 61 more cots that'll open a 4th amnesty site.
It's nothing super fancy. It's just a place where people can come to be warm.
Mayor Buttigieg says the most recent count tells them there are over 450 homeless people in South Bend, and homeless advocates say for now, the cots and beds fall short.
We know that there's still going to be about 35 to 40 people, at least in the downtown community of South Bend, that are still going to be unsheltered.
But the biggest challenge is the space.
Despite freezing nights and demand for amnesty sites, it doesn't appear some of the homeless want to give up the bridge anytime soon.
But I'd hate to think I had the option to hope and have the door slammed in my face when I thought I'd be safe, and then have no option.
Well, according to some HUD numbers that we received today, the good news is that homelessness around the state of Indiana is declining, particularly among homeless veterans.
All right, and Joel, it sounds like despite their best efforts, there will be people on the street tonight in South Bend. Anything else the city's working on?
Well, when asked about that today, Terry, the mayor says that he would like to start work on what he calls a gateway center. He plans that to be sort of a transitional place where the homeless could go to seek help with, say, addiction, as well as getting back to some of those job skills and getting back into more stable housing. But he says it's a bit too early in the conversation. This is likely a conversation for the 2018 year to talk about funding, a potential site, and how many they can make room for, Terry.
All right, Joel Porter reporting live tonight from South Bend. Joel, thanks.
A handgun laying in the middle of the street. Good evening, I'm Maureen McFadden.
And I'm Terry McFadden. A bizarre find, and tonight a local police chief confirms the weapon belongs to his department.
What we still don't know, how the gun ended up there in that busy road. It was our Joel Porter who found it. And Joel, it was loaded.
Yes, it was. 17 rounds in the clip, 1 in the chamber. And South Bend Police Chief Scott Raskowski confirms today an internal investigation is happening now. And until it's done, he's not exactly sharing a whole lot else. Right. At one point, he says this is preliminary, but it doesn't appear there was anything criminal at work here. You never know what you'll find on the side of the road. Some things you think twice about picking up. That was especially true Sunday afternoon at one of the busiest intersections in Mishawaka.
We turned the corner headed to the mall, and I saw what looked like a pistol in the road.
A gun in the street along State Road 23 alerted both Tracy Hurdle and me. I turned the car around, parked, waited for a break in traffic, and walked out to look at it.
I was hoping it was a toy gun, but it was a real one.
I picked up the gun. It was a loaded black 9mm with SBPD engraved on the slide.
All I could think of is some little kid could pick that up, and we'd have a tragedy to talk about.
I then unloaded the gun, called police, spoke with a sergeant, who sent an officer to collect the gun as evidence. One day later, police aren't saying much about the case, other than an email from the police chief thanking me for turning in the gun. Chief Ruskowski wrote in a statement, quote, "We don't comment on pending or internal investigations, but I can confirm the firearm belongs to the SBPD."
It'd be nice if they were frank and forthcoming, and that's up to them too. You and I are held accountable where we work, aren't we?
I did ask to speak with Chief Ruskowski today. He wrote in that email that he will not be talking on camera about the gun while this matter is still being looked into.
Okay, but the gun was entered into evidence, several checks and balances happening now. Walk us through what's going on.
All right, so basically what they say, a few things, Maureen. Basically, the gun's serial number, they're running that to find out to whom it was registered. Again, we do know the firearm belongs to SBPD.
Right now, the school board is meeting to try and figure out what they should do about it. News Center 16's Joel Porter is in Benton Harbor covering the meeting. He joins us now live. And Joel, what's the big problem?
The big problem, Terry, is that several staffers and teachers say it's hard for them to do their jobs because of disrespectful and even violent kids.
This is it.
With some old carpet and chipping paint, Pastor Edward Pickney can see the former Lighthouse Ministries in Benton Harbor needs some tuning up.
Set it up like a classroom.
He bought the old church less than 2 months ago, not just as a space for his congregation, but also to be an after-school gathering place.
When you don't have the parents involved with the students, you create something like we have today.
What they have is a discipline problem. Teachers at the MLK STEAM Academy are pleading with the school board, saying they can't control the unruly kids.
Before you can solve a problem, you have to understand what the problem is. And a lot of times we don't go that far.
Teachers argue it's difficult to suspend a violent 3rd, 4th, or 5th grader. Superintendent Dr. Shelley Walker has preached fewer out-of-school suspensions since she started last year. Staffers want the board's help because they say some kids look forward to the punishment.
You don't get the opportunity to stay home and watch TV. You're coming to school, whether you like it or not. And we got a place for you.
Benton Harbor Schools has a code of conduct that students are told they must obey. There are 3 levels of bad behavior of all kinds. Attacking a teacher or a volunteer is among the most severe, and that could mean a 2-week suspension and a possible expulsion. Now the latest on a developing story out of our nation's capital. An attorney for President Trump says he, not the president, wrote a tweet related to Michael Flynn. That tweet from Mr. Trump's account says, "I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI." Some say the tweet shows that President Trump knew Flynn committed a felony months ago. The president's personal lawyer, John Dowd, says he wrote it, but not everybody is buying that. Some Democrats want an obstruction of justice investigation.
Obstruction of justice.
Republican Senator Lindsey Graham says President Trump's comments about ongoing investigations come at his own peril. People in Utah are protesting President Trump's plans to shrink 2 national monuments. The president will be in Utah on Monday to outline the plan to reduce the Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante monuments. That was one of Barack Obama's final policies he signed before leaving office. Bears Ears is over 1 million acres. Protesters in Utah argued the sites are sacred and shouldn't be touched, but supporters of the plan call that a federal land grab. New this evening, a family in South Bend wants to find their missing dog who has dementia. There is a picture of the dog named Marshall. It's 12 years old with black and white markings. Marshall was reported missing on November 23rd, the night of Thanksgiving. He went missing in the Sunnymead neighborhood of South Bend. Marshall's owners tell us that several people from the community have been looking for him. A few people said they spotted a dog that looks like Marshall near Main and Wayne Streets in South Bend, but they still haven't found him. If you think you've seen the dog out and about, his owners do want to hear from you. You can reach them at the phone number 574-387-3219. When we return on News Center 16 at 11, they own drugstores all over America, including in Michiana. Now owners of CVS are paying big bucks to buy a health insurance company.